All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Secrets of the Night Skies series. We are going to unpack the month of Kislev. We're in the month of Kislev right now, and typically I would start in the month of Nisan, but we're in the month of Kislev. The month of Kislev, and I want to be able to unpack it. So you received the typical source sheet, which I have you here, and also a breakdown of the months and all the shvatim, all the mazalot that are attached to that month itself. So the month of Kislev, you look over there at the bottom. Thank you so much. Is over there. It's a Keshet. It's the archer. It's Sagittarius. It's the Shevet and the Shevet of the camp. The Shevet is the tribe. There are 12 tribes. Each tribe has a different month that's associated with it, and then the Shevet camp has to do with how the camps in Israel were aligned in the desert. And their arrangement was a little bit different. And that also has a particular type of alignment with the stars that's separate from the Shevet. You have the camp direction, where they were facing. You have the element of the month. You have the Hebrew letter of the month. You have the planet of the month. And you have the hour of the day. All these things have a particular expression of how those mazalot, these influences, impact a person born under this particular set of conditions. Yeah.
Associated with them, like let's say the ship or the snake,
Dagger,
the lion.
Yeah.
Are any of those connected to the mazalot?
I didn't see.
It's a different system.
That's a different system. That has to do with a.
Like Shevet Dan, for example, has like two different, or I guess like some of the
icons.
They're
different icons. It's iconography.
It's like one, I guess maybe for his leader status or their whatever.
Yeah, the icon.
But I wanted to know if that's.
I didn't see, it could be there is one. I didn't see one. It doesn't mean that there isn't one. The iconography of the flags has a unique story to tell, but the real, I think, expression of the mazal is expressed in the nature of the shevet itself.
So put that knowledge on and just dive into this.
Correct. That's what I would say. I would say that I don't see a direct correlation between the symbolism of the flags and the mazalot, but there could be one. All right.
Question on this.
Yeah.
Because that might be your birthday month, that doesn't mean that's your tribe, right?
Correct. No, it does not mean it's your tribe at all. The tribe means that once you start learning about the tribe and the nature of the tribe, that tells you a little bit more about who and what you are. Right? All of this is really a way of understanding what we are. And again, none of these things define what you are. They just have an influence on you. You might have certain more of these characteristics in you because of the month, time, date, place, shevet element that you're a part of, that these things express themselves more dominantly in you than in other people. All these things are in all of us, but these things may present themselves more dominantly with someone who's born in the month of Kislev. The month of Sagittarius is from November 22nd to December 21st. All right, let's just jump right into the sources, and then we'll do a breakdown of what these mazalot mean and how they impact us today. Okay, Sefer Yetzirah, okay, very important book when it comes to mazalot. Sefer Yetzirah is often attributed to the authorship to Abraham Avinu. It's one of the oldest Kabbalistic texts that we have. It spends a lot of time dealing with letters, a lot of time dealing with the months themselves, and the names of angels. Okay, so he says as follows, okay? He says he coronated with the letter Samach and the attribute of sleep, attached a crown to it, and forged them together and formed within them the bow, the Sagittarius, in the worldly realm. Kislev in the realm of time, the year, and the stomach within the microcosm realm, in the male and female. So we'll explain what all that is. We know, if you look on your sheet over here, the chart that I gave you, if you look at Kislev, you'll notice that all the way at the end, right after the fire, it says the Hebrew letter of that month is Samach. Okay? The month that we're in is the month of Samach. Now, if you look closer at the Samach is actually made up of two other letters. The Samach is made up of a Chaf and a Vav. Okay? All right, the Chaf and the Vav coming together. The Chaf and the Vav is 26. The month of Samach is closed. It's the month of miracles. It's a closed loop system. And it's not an accident that the month before, the month of Cheshvan, is the Nun. The Nun and the Samach together is Nes. So we're moving into a time of miracle. Okay? Now, you're familiar with the winter and the summer solstice, right? These are the darkest and the most brightest times of the year. 2 times of the year. The ancient cultures would often spend a lot of time aligning their monuments and their altars around the winter and summer solstice. Okay, and we're right now, Kislev is going to be at the heart of the winter solstice, where we move from the darkest time of the month or of the year into weekly processions of the sun becoming brighter and brighter and brighter, which means that up until now we've been moving into darkness, and we're starting the year, believe it or not, it's hard to think about it right now because it's happening so slow and it's so miserable outside. Thank you all for coming. Not an easy day to come out. We're beginning to see a change in nature where we're seeing the sun to begin to dominate over darkness. Now, it's not an accident that the month of Kislev is the month of Hanukkah, right? And not an accident that on Chav He Kislev, the 25th night of Kislev, is the night where we light Chanukiah. It's that week where you have the darkest days of the year. And what are we doing in the darkest days of the year? We're going ahead and we're lighting a little candle. Now, I often make this comparison. I think it's just an interesting observation. I grew up in a very Irish, Italian, Hispanic community as a kid. And we were, I was the only house on my block that had a menorah on it. Everyone else had Christmas trees and Christmas lights in front of their house and all kinds of, what's that?
Where was that?
No, I didn't grow up in, I was in Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn kid. Where was that? On 12th Avenue and like 40th Street down there.
Queens?
No, Brooklyn. Like close to Sunset Park, Borough Park, Sunset Park, like that bridge. Yeah. So, but it wasn't a very Jewish neighborhood when I was growing up. So, I was always enamored by all the lights. It's beautiful. You go outside, you have all these beautiful colors and this and that. And I remember as a kid walking out, and you see this little like Nebi menorah like in a window, and you see these like awesome glowing, flashing like things in the front yard, and like the snowman and the reindeer, and like, this is such a weak expression of a holiday. And things have changed. You have organizations like Chabad that'll come out and do like that 30-foot tall menorah, and they'll make a big deal out of it. But really, the essence of what Hanukkah is, and I think it's tied into this idea of Kislev itself, is that
I just have an observation on the sheet.
Yeah.
So Zebulun is the Shevet camp of Kislev, and this is winter solstice.
Yes.
But the summer solstice is the Shevet.
Yes.
And interestingly, the Shevet camp of it's Ephraim on the map of Sivan.
Yeah.
And the Shevet on Kislev is Benjamin.
Right.
They both come from
The same tribe.
lineage of Rachel.
Yeah. Good observation. We'll talk about that later. But the idea is that if I was to really express what Hanukkah is and what this month is about, it's the exact opposite of everything that our nice Christian neighbors are doing. The whole month is really about recognizing that the way we make change in the world is through small little actions, right? We don't light 8 nights of Hanukkah, on one night. We do 1 candle, and then we do 2 candles, and there's a progression, right? Why? Because we understand that God creates a world where small little things over long periods of time makes a huge difference. It's about the smallest. If I was going to go ahead and make like a massive expression of like what Hanukkah is, it wouldn't be like who can make the tallest Chanukiah. It would be about who can make the smallest Chanukiah and make light come to the world. What does light do? Light changes the nature of a room. Imagine we were sitting in the dark right now. It would be very uncomfortable, right? It'll be very weird also, the light itself creates a space for us to open ourselves up to everything that's potential happening in this room. When the darkness comes, we become separate and alone, okay? And we feel a little bit of depression, right? There's a little bit of sadness that comes along with the winter months. And that's totally normal, because the winter months demand that you and I work deeply within ourselves to extrapolate those little embers of light and fan them into something much more profound. Okay, so that's what this month is about. This month is also, we know it's the fire month, right? The element is fire itself, and we're here to express that fire, that passion that we need to bring out into the world. Meaning, if you leave things as is, right, you won't experience the flames. Unless you're you're born in the month of Kislev, right? You have a predisposition to not being a fiery personality. Your job is to express that nature within this month by drawing the passion out from within yourself. In the same way that you're lighting the candle, right? And what do? We use a wick. The wick is drawing out the oil, bringing out the oil and the oxygen together to create that little flame. That's all your action. You're doing it. There's a mitzvah for you to make your own wicks. Mitzvah for you to go ahead and squeeze your own oil. We don't do any of that today. Everything's prefabbed. But why is that? Because it's built on this idea, this concept that you, my friends, are in control of your emotional state of being. You're in control of the feelings that you have. And therefore, the month of Kislev demands that you and I stand up and go out and make a difference in the world around us. Rabbi Tzadok Cohen is one of the most difficult achronim rabbis of the 18th century to read. He's super complicated, super terse. And this is what he says. He says, the name of Kislev, remember that the months, the Hebrew months that we read about are not found in the Torah. If you open the Torah, the way we describe the month is by the number. Nisan is the first month of the calendar, right? Kislev is the 9th month of the calendar. Right? Chodesh HaTish'i, the 9th month it would be. It wouldn't be called Kislev. Kislev, the names that you see over here, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul, all these names are names that we got when we came out of Persia or Babylonia at the time. These are Babylonian names at nature. If you actually go back to their calendar, you'll see a lot of similarities between the names of the months themselves. We borrowed them, okay? So now there is obviously nothing that happens accidentally. And therefore, if that is the name that is given even for them, because the Babylonians had some connection to spirituality, which Babylonian is where the Talmud Bavli came from, the Babylonian Talmud. And this is what Rav Tzadok says, is the name Kislev denotes the confidence of the inner strength. As used in the verse in Job, in Eov, I have made my gold, my hope, Kisli. And I have said to the fine gold, you are my confidence. It's interesting to note that in the English, the word castle, composed of the same phonetics as the Hebrew word kesel, which means fortress. The word kesel is etymologically related to the word kisui, covering and guardian. According to the Ibn Ezra, the word kesel means a walking staff or crutch. According to Rashi, kesel means the hope that comes from planning, as in the verse, for God will be your support, bikislecha. The advisors of the body are the kidneys. What are they called? Kelayot. Etzot kelayot. The kidneys are tied to giving etzah, which are related to the word kala, which means strong desire and longing. Thus, the main spiritual function of the month of Kislev are the strengthening of faith in God and the affirmation of hope and complete liberation. That is the month that you and I are in right now. The Bnei Yissaschar says as follows, another commentary. He says the attributes and image of Kislev, confidence, and the fortress are also indicated in the letters of the month. Samach, whose form is a closed circle, symbolizing protection. The word Samach also means support and reestablishment. The attributes are available during the month of Kislev. I'm not sure if you saw this in the news today, but Hamas handed over the list of the names of the hostages to Egypt. Yes, to Egypt, and Egypt's going to give it to us, to Israel, right? And I told you that I have a feeling that the month of the return is going to happen now, the month of Kislev. It's the month of miracles, the month of this powerful support that we have right now. Shem Shmuel, a person born under the sign of Sagittarius, has much self-confidence, is optimistic and always pressing ahead. His hope for the future arouses within him, and the inner resolve to overcome the obstacles standing in the way and carries him until he achieves his goal. Sagittarian is full of appreciation and joy in life, as indicated by the essential connection Sagittarius has to life energy. However, this comes only if one's lifestyle is in accord with the spiritual values of Torah. If one's lifestyle is essentially secular, the Sagittarian energy expresses itself as irritability. And a person may not also find himself in dangerous circumstances due to the negative expression of the adventurous tendencies of the Sagittarians. Sagittarians are passionate, fire people, okay? If they're not grounded by something spiritual, God forbid, that force that is latent within them can consume them. The Zohar says the constellations of the heaven are there to teach a person how to achieve spiritual elevation in consonance with the spiritual significance of each of the astrological signs. Constellations may be linked to the physical body. which enables the soul inhabiting it to achieve many significant things in its life. The person whose sign is Sagittarius is armed with the energies of the soul that enable him to achieve sublime spiritual heights if immobilized in ways of the Torah. If a person uses the energies of purely material purpose, his soul power will not bring him wholesome happiness and the spiritual fulfillment, but rather their opposite. Why is that? Well, it's very simple. We see in the Parsha that Yaakov, right, and Esav are very different. Esav has everything and he's unhappy, right? He's not happy. He always feels like he's lacking. If your whole life is the pursuit of materialism, you'll never find satiation. You won't be satiated with anything. At the end of the day, we are spiritual beings, and if we're not working in accord with our spiritual mission, you will be a wreck for your whole entire life. I've met people who are older, younger, and I find that when they finally, this idea clicks for them, that you, my friends, are souls with a body and not a body with a soul. And then in the same way that you take care of your physical health, you got to take care of your spiritual health. When you finally are in that place where you're doing some self-spiritual care, your whole world begins to change, right? This is true, very true for the Sagittarius as well. She has the ability of doing amazing things, but if their if their month mazal is used only in the pursuit of physical things, they will never find true happiness. Ibid, number 7, the nature of the month is sleep. This is the negative expression of the month's energy, the natural state of spiritual slumber. This was the situation of the Jews found themselves on the dominion of the Greek Empire, and it's particularly in the case of the inner essence of the Jews that was aroused. The Jews and the Greeks, the Yehuda Maccabee, when he fought against the Greeks, right? That's what this month is about. It's interesting, by the way. How do you say Greek in Hebrew? Yavan is made up of how many letters? 3 letters. Yod, Vav, Nun. Now think about it like a scale. Yud, Vav, Nun. Like an inverted chart. Right? Because everything about the world of Yavan is about measuring material, physical things. There's no way to measure spiritual things, which is difficult because if something isn't measured, it cannot be managed. Right? The more we measure things, the more we manage those things. So I can measure my diet. How do I measure my spirituality? How do you and I measure our growth? It's much more difficult to do that. So how do we do that as Jews? We do that through the idea of learning. At the very least, I'm kovei itim. I know I can measure how much I'm learning. The way we measure our growth is by how much time we spend in educating ourselves to become better, greater human beings. That's what this month is about. The Jews during the time of the Yevanim, during the times of the Greeks, it says that the Kohanim were playing in the Olympic Games. In Israel, they built these massive coliseums, and in order to play in the Olympic Games, they were done in the nude. It was a complete expression of physical prowess, of physical beauty, the complete opposite of anything that is spiritual. While we say you could indulge in physical things, but understand that the primary essence of what you are is a soul. You're not a body. You're not just a body. You have a neshama. And Jews were losing that essence until the Maccabees came along and pushed them out and won for a short period of time. But even at that point, the whole Second Temple era was really a symbolic place. When we talk about the might and the beauty of the temple, we're talking about the first temple, not the second temple. The second temple was always a vassal to some other power. It was always a slave, a servant to somebody else. It was never really an expression of the truest expressions of Judaism. This is part of our galut. Part of our exile is that it's unclear what our avodah is. How much more happy would each of us be if we were born with a set of instructions? This is what you got to do. This is where you got to go. Don't marry this guy, marry that guy. Don't do this, do this. I have my roadmap. The fact that we're in galut and the fact that you and I don't know what we need to do is an expression of that galut. The exile of Greek, of Yavan, is a mixture of all things. I don't know. I think that life is about the measuring things, the Yavan. But that's not what it is. It's something much more profound. It's the light that's in the candle that I need to bring into the world of darkness. That's how I don't fight darkness by pulling out a sword and trying to defeat the darkness. I'll never succeed. It's an endless battle. The way I destroy the darkness is by becoming the vessel to bring light into the world, by developing myself, by growing myself as a human being.
Rabbi, this is also one of those times that Israel's commander of the army is a Levi, and the defense minister is a Kohen. And it's not just a Kohen, he is a Kohen.
Kohen Tzedek. Okay, listen, there's a lot happening, no question about it. And Israel is in this interesting place right now in its history. Where is it going to go? How is it going to respond? They have every reason to be hateful of the Palestinians in Gaza for what they did. But at the same time, if that's going to be our legacy, we're just going to be back where we were again in 10, 20 years. How do we become more? Not so simple. I don't know the answer. But Shir Hashim says, Ani yeshna libi er. I was asleep, but my heart was awake. Are we working on waking up our hearts and making sure we pull ourselves out of our sleep? If you wake up in the morning and you're not excited with the work that you got to do that day, you're doing something wrong. That's not the world that God created for us. God created a world where every single morning we should be jumping out of bed and we should be singing, thank you Hashem for the opportunities I have to live life and to bring so much good into the world. That's what we're here for. When we wake up sad, it's because on a subconscious level, you're thinking about what can I take from the world today and not what I can give to the world today.
We also ask God every single day, like, please give me panasa and da so that I can follow your will.
Yeah.
If you don't have some of the basic things in life,
Yeah.
then you cannot be in a place of your spiritual growth.
It's definitely harder to be in a situation where you have less to be able to give, no question about it. And I don't know if I don't know how things work in Shemayim, but I'll tell you this much: I can't control the results. Right? I can't control how much money I make. I can't control those things. That's from God. What God wants me to work on is how I interact with the people around me. Am I the most am I humble? Am I open to growth? Am I able to hear criticism? Am I doing the things I need to do internally? The giving doesn't have to be to give tzedakah. There's actually in the month of Adar, we'll get there. There's a special sigula, a special I'm not sure how you translate sigula properly, but there's a special merit that comes from giving every single person that asks you for tzedakah to give them tzedakah. Special sigula in the month of Adar to give charity to every single person you see. So what happens, and by the way, then at the end of the month, you could tell Hashem, just in the same way that I gave charity to every single person in the month of Adar, and I didn't say no, I'm asking you for this, and please don't say no. And it's special sigula that you'll get whatever you ask from God. If you're able to give 30 days, every single person you see, something, right? Then God cannot refuse you in the month of Nisan, the month of miracles. So what happens if I don't have any money on me? I don't have my credit card, I don't have my phone, and I need to get something. I asked that question to my rabbi. He said, even if you have nothing to give financially, you could always give a word of encouragement. Give them a bracha, give them a smile, help them, encourage them, inspire them. There's never a scenario where you cannot be in a position to give something to someone. We're always in a position to give. And that when we get to ourselves to a place where we think we cannot give, that is, I think, the Satan lying to you. It doesn't matter what you have, you can always be in a position to give. Even when it's hard. In the month of Adar, there's a segula that during the 30 days of Adar to give charity to every single person that you see.
Right, but how about something like 30 days?
It's 30 days. The month
30 days during the month of Adar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over the 30 days. It's the whole month.
Let's celebrate $1 a day.
It doesn't have to be $1. It could be a beautiful smile. It could be a word of encouragement saying, I'm so sorry, I can't give you right now, but I give you a bracha that the next guy gives you double, whatever I was going to give you. It could always be something. I had one rabbi who always carried candies with him during the month of Adar. And anytime someone said, I don't have money, but here's a candy. Here's like a piece of gum, here's something else. But everything always had something to give to someone because he always wanted to be in that state where he could turn himself into a giver. You don't have to have much to be able to give. Anyway, okay, fine. So Sefer Yetzirah, number 9. He coordinated the letter Samach in the attribute of sleep. The power of support and renewal symbolized in the letter Samach, which roused the inner will, and confidence overcame the spiritual slumber of dormancy. There is a power to overcome the things that hold us back. That's in this month. You don't have to live in a sleepy, wintry state. You could start already thinking about blooming, right? Because we're not too far from the month of Tevet, right? And the month of Tevet is a hard month, but right after Tevet comes what? Shvat. And what happens in the month of Shvat? It's the Rosh Hashanah HaIlanot, the beginning of the trees. The beginning of the trees begin to bloom in the month of February. What? That doesn't happen until the spring. No, it happens now. We're preparing for the awakening now. Your heart is asleep, but the month of Kislev is the power of waking up, my friends. B'nai Yisachar, number 10. Discourse in Kislev. He said the elements of Kislev is fire, also express the power of rising upward. That is the essence of the month. I have a whole entire separate series we'll do afterwards on the elements and going through all the elements, and I'll show you how each one of the avot and imaot are tied to the elements themselves. It's actually really interesting. Okay, so the element of Kislev is the fire, also expressed by the power of rising upward in the essence of the month. It is also the central motif of the Hanukkah ritual, the kindling of the festival lights, the spiritual tendencies of rising above the mundane, spiritual alertness, and natural inclination to the study of the philosophy and the religion are also among the attributes assigned to the Sagittarian by astrology. They reach their full expression in the fulfillment of the Torah and its ways. Astrology orders the month of Sagittarius in the category of the changing months. This implies that Sagittarius carries with it the possibility of change, as was revealed during Hanukkah, when the spiritual situation of the Jewish people changed from slumber and the negative self-image to renewal and revitalization. That's what you could tap into this month. He says further, the 3 other changing months, Sivan, Elul, and Adar, these are all changing months. See any correlation there? All carry within them the symbol of change essential to Jewish practice. The month of Sivan saw the giving of the Torah, which was the most fundamental change within the Jewish nation, transforming them from a nation of slaves to a kingdom of princes, a holy nation. The month of Elul is set aside for repentance, for the mending of one's ways. During the month of the essential purity, the Jewish people was returned to them, and after being tainted, resulted from the sin of the golden calf. The last of the changing months, Adar, saw the change of decree from annihilation to life and liberation during the days of Esther and Mordechai. In the last days of the Persian exile, the month was changed from the time of mourning to a time of great rejoicing. So the months themselves are expressing potential. And if we're aware of the potential of that month, we can tap into it. Who here doesn't want to work on expressing the best parts of who they are? Who here doesn't want to wake up that sleepy power, that sleeping giant in each of us that wants to express itself, but we've been too distracted. Now is the time, my friends, to do it. Number 12, B'nai Yisachar says as follows. He says the connection between light, Torah, and the bow is the reason for the custom of shooting arrows on the holiday of Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of Omer during the month of Iyar, the day of passing Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. On the day before his death, Rabbi Shimon revealed many important secrets of Kabbalah. The revelation of the hidden light may be linked to the shining forth of the colors of the rainbow. Rabbi Shimon told his son, Rabbi Elazar, "My son, do not expect the coming of Mashiach until you see the fulfillment, the self-illuminated rainbow." Now, today the rainbow has all kinds of interesting connotations connected to it. I don't think that's what he was referring to. Thus, the coming of the Messiah is linked to the revelation of the hidden light. Hanukkah, according to Kabbalah, is also the kindling of the lights, a symbol of illumination of the hidden light. Cheshvan, the second of the winter month, corresponds to Iyar, the second of the summer months. On the 18th of Iyar, Lag BaOmer, the custom is to shoot bow and arrow in honor of Shimon Bar Yochai, who's said to have incorporated all the colors of the rainbow. That's what we want. It's not an accident that they took something that is an expression of the highest forms of Kedusha. I don't know for you, but for me, rainbows is like, that's what you draw as a kid, right? It's the most innocent thing you can draw. And they stole it from us, right? They took it and they perverted it with something else. Now, really, the rainbow represents diversity. It represents inclusivity. It represents the openness to all things. That they can't steal from us. They're not wrong. What Hashem wants is inclusivity. He wants to bring everyone together. But the problem with their inclusivity is that it comes with no boundaries. I don't want to have any structure or order. I want it to be a one big hodgepodge of mishmash. That doesn't work. If it can't be measured, it can't be managed. There has to be boundaries. There has to be something that I can set around the parameters to make sure that I don't go off the rails. Otherwise, you become like this guy, Luigi. You could start justifying all kinds of things and killing people. I just let my mind slip out. No more moral values, boundaries. I do whatever I want to do. I could go out in Manhattan early in the morning and pull out a gun and just shoot a guy 3 times. Father of 2 kids, a horrible thing to do. There's no justification for that. There's no justification for murder. That's not how we solve our differences here. We speak, we talk, we debate. Let's have the conversation, right? That's not what happened here. Now, if you look at your sheets, it's 13, 14, 15, and 16, I think are the essence of everything we discussed today in this month, okay? And I have what I did was, I took all the ideas for the month of Sagittarius, and I put it on to a 1-pager with a breakdown of everything that fits into the personality for you to keep. I'm gonna do this every single month. This took a long time, but I'll give this to you guys as soon as I'm done with it. And I'll give it to you now, actually. You'll give it out for me? Okay, so let's just do number 13. Perkei Avot, Rabbi Omer. He says, look at 3 things and you will not come to sin. Da, ma, lemala mincha. See that which is above you. Ayin ro'eh v'ozen shamat. An eye that sees and an ear that listens. V'kol masech v'sevet nichtavim. Everything that you do is written in a book. The more the Sagittarius is aware that God is very much part of the physical world, the less likely he or she will come to sin. Shammai says, "Oseh Tortecha Keva." The whole month of Sagittarius is the month, the archer, the month of overcoming the physical pull downward. How do you do that? Make your Torah Keva. Omar ma'at ve'aseh harbeh. Don't speak too much. Just go do actions. Counts more than words. Rabbi mekabel kol ha'adam besever panim yafot. And make sure you receive each person with a pleasant countenance, with a pleasant face. Why is that part of the end of that Mishnah? Right? I understand. Make yourself your Torah, Keva. Right? I understand. Say little, do a lot. Why I have to smile at the end of that? Does it really matter? And the answer is yes. Why? Because if you're not smiling after the learning and actually implementing your Torah spiritual ideas, something is wrong. The end result of your spiritual growth leads to a person that is completely secure with who he or she is. There's no more insecurity, there's no more uncertainty, there's no more doubt. I know what I am, where I am. That is the greatest expression of happiness. Our sadness comes from not knowing why. Most people suffer because they don't know why. Why am I suffering? Why me? It's not fair. It's not, why am I suffering? That's where most of the pain comes from. But if you start understanding the why, often the suffering goes away. Yeah, and you can't grow if you're not happy. And therefore, he's saying like this, you want to learn Torah? Amazing. Learn Torah, do the action, but know that the end result's got to be simcha. You got to greet people with a smiley face. You got to be happy. When you put your face out to the world, you make sure, I could see the teeth, right? You make sure you smile. By the way, this is not a typical idea expressed in the ancient world. You look at photos of people from 100 years ago, 150 years ago. No one was smiling. Yeah. Everyone's very serious faces. You look at the old portraits of people. I don't know one ancient portrait or one bustle of a man. They made those statues. No one's smiling. Like no one was happy back then. Right? They were these Herculean, muscular figurines. No smiles. Something was wrong. Right? When the focus is only on the chitzoniyut, the externalities, there's no real simcha there. It's superficiality. They were living in superficial times. Next, Mishnah Avot. Ben Zoma says, Ezu hachacham, who is a wise man? Halomen mikol adam, the person who has the humility, my friends, to learn from all the other people. Shne'amar mikol melamdei heskalti ki elotecha sichali. Ezu gibor, who is the strong man? Hakovesh yotzro, the one who's able to overcome his nature, right? Ezuhu Ashir, the last one, Hasamech Bechelko. The Sagittarius struggles with these things. This is his or her refuah. This Mishnah was written for them. And last but not least, Mishle Shlomo HaMelech, in his infinite wisdom, says, Mavet v'chaim beyad lashon. Life and death is in the hands of the tongue. Why? Because your thoughts, the way you speak, impact you. And if you're always speaking negatively and you're always thinking negatively, you're in trouble. Do you wake up and start saying, ugh, I don't feel it today. It's rainy, it's dark outside, I'm not going anywhere. You allow your words to define your reality. Sagittarius is very much influenced by words. Okay, and therefore he or she has to be careful with how he or she speaks because it impacts them more severely. So if you look at that sheet I gave you, I just want to run through this and then we'll take questions. Okay, so you have Sagittarius as the month of Kislev from November 22nd till December 21st. Okay, spiritually, they're usually very spiritual, have a tremendous amount of integrity, they're very trustworthy. They strive to be God-fearing both in public and in private, so therefore they like to project their spiritual development. They show respect to all, but maintain healthy suspicion to avoid naivety. Okay? They're always a little bit, hey, maybe this person is trying to con me on some level. They're content with what they have, and that's where their true wealth comes from. Optimism is vital, but mindful of its boundaries. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. We just saw that. Truth is heavy. We saw that as well. Next. Okay? The Sagittarius is a fire sign. Okay, so what is that? It's the Aries is also a fire sign. And okay, that initiates action, but tends to rush, often making mistakes. They're so spiritual, so passionate about what they're doing. They rush to all kinds of conclusions and make all kinds of mistakes because of that fieriness as well. The Leo is also a fire sign. It contains and directs energy, seeking leadership and stability. See how they express themselves a little bit differently. The Sagittarius is adaptable with Aries. Sometimes the same sign don't work, but Sagittarius and Aries actually work together. Aries energy and Leo's determination, but pursues a unique path. They're able to find a little bit more balance than both Aries and Leo. Aries and Leo are stronger fire signs than the Sagittarius themselves. Every sign has its strength and weakness. As long as traits are not inherently harmful, our responsibility is to understand and channel them positively. So if the sign of, if Sagittarius is a fire sign, and it has that like fiery nature, your job is to always find balance. Remember that every sign wants balance. And not one sign, no sign is better than the other. Really, what we really want is we want you to incorporate each element of the best parts of every sign. Right? Each sign has an extreme that is positive and negative. There is no sign that expresses itself only positive traits. Because even a positive trait, like, for example, chesed, kindness, can be bad. How does chesed become bad? What do you mean, kindness? How could kindness be bad? Everyone knows that kindness is good. Do you ever hear the expression, you're kind to the cruel? You end up becoming cruel to the kind? Yeah, that's what happens. But chesed is given to the wrong kinds of people, becomes super destructive. Right? Chesed needs boundaries. All of these traits need boundaries. Okay, so what are the characteristics? Usually, the positive traits are they're freedom-loving, good-humored, straightforward. They're generally philosophical, they're optimistic and idealistic. They're adventurous and eager to face challenges. Now, I could show you how each one of those traits can be positive and negative, especially in relationships. Naturally, they're extroverted, they enjoy risk-taking, and loves speed, right? Negative traits, blindly optimistic, tactless, restless, can be blunt and hurtful without realizing it, but often feels regret, struggles with seriousness and responsibility, prone to rebellion, sarcasm, and impulsivity. That is all coming from that passion. Behavioral tendencies, outspoken with a strong sense of honesty and sincerity, cheerful disposition, but may avoid family responsibilities. Quick-tempered, but quick to reconcile, strong sense of justice, and a passion for causes. Okay, their personality insight is strength in social settings, plays the role of the clown with a sharp sense of humor. Okay, trusting and confident, but should avoid naivety. Generous, friendly, and loves making guests feel welcome. The challenge is they struggles with keeping secrets, struggles with organization, losing keys, wallet, etc., and financially disciplined. They're not very disciplined people. May rebel against authority or drive into extreme, gambling, fanaticism, and so on and so forth. Usually good cult leaders come from this month as well. Okay, gender-specific insights, meaning if you're a male and a female, then the mazal refracts that light a little bit differently. So in male Sagittarius it's usually helpful, adventurous, but values freedom above all. Prefers relationships with sharp passions and independence. Enjoys the outdoors and bonds with children as a friend rather than as a disciplinarian. Doesn't want to do discipline. Female Sagittarius are outspoken, independent, and adaptable. Prefers requests over demands and resists being ordered around. Okay? Enjoys entertaining and making others feel comfortable. Can be extravagant with money and dislikes being tied down to domestic life. Life lessons for the Sagittarius. Embrace your optimism, but remain grounded in reality. Be mindful of your words. Honesty is strength, but requires tactfulness. Balance independence with responsibility and freedom with commitment. Channel your fire energy toward productive and meaningful pursuits, and hopefully you'll be able to live a life of excellence and meaning. My friends, that is the Sagittarius. In a nutshell, this is certainly not everything. This is me cramming all these ideas from a Jewish lens as possible. Any questions or comments?
Rabbi,
Yeah.
the hour of the day is depending on the sunrise and the sunset because right
Yes.
now-
Yes.
So the 6 to 7 is depending on the
Nissan is 6 to 7 a.m. and it goes from a.m. to p.m.
Yeah. Rabbi, I wish there were 8 women over here and this place should be packed.
No, I don't want that.
Yeah, but people
You have
watch
too
it
many
online.
people. You have too many.
People watch
See,
it
I don't need a lot of people. I'm happy. The right people are always in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hour of the day then is like the optimal, like let's say 6 to 7, like your optimal time to accomplish something?
No, so each hour of the day has a different planet that is associated with it,
Oh, okay.
right? And that planet has a particular power that influences that person. So let's say you were born in the month of Nisan. That doesn't mean that that's your hour of the day. So the hour of the day of the month of Nisan, 6 to 7, is usually Saturn. Now, if you understand what Saturn does to you, right? Saturn influences you in a way that's different than if you were born from 7 to 8, like Jupiter, or 8 to 9, Mars, or 9 to 10, the Sun. All these different hours of the day have an impact. But there's another thing I could put in here also, that your parents
Yes.
play a role in this. So like this is a small snippet of understanding our personalities. I don't know, anyone here is Sagittarius? Any Sagittarius here?
My sister is an absolute.
And this is her. This is right on. Okay, fine. Yes, I've given this class before, and people have come up to me like, "This is crazy. This is so me." Yeah.
So in terms of like the hour of the day or
Yeah.
the mazal or the chodesh, like if you're born at a specific time during a specific month, you might be pulled to that. But also, like, do we just going about our lives, do we tap into, like right now, Saturn time, I guess, or yeah, Saturn, which we want to do, so it's Saturn time for us? Like, do we tap into that energy, or is this really only based on?
Remember that
when you were born?
you are a microcosm of a macrocosm.
Yes.
And we believe that the small, little, subtle movements of the universe influence us.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was born at a particular time, date, place, month, hour, all those things influence me, and they tell me a little bit about what I am, about my nature. The hardest thing in the world is to understand what we are, right? So this just gives you a little bit more insight. The purpose of the insight isn't that, oh, that's so cool, did you know that I am? No, the purpose of it is for you to be motivated and say, hey, you know what, these are my strengths, these are some of my challenges. Some of it comes from the way I grew up because of my family, my mother, my father, and their influences. If you go back, you'll see how the whole thing, like, It's really about developing a better sense of self so that you can grow. That's what this is.
And balance.
Yeah, for you to bring balance to your world.
Are we meant to say, like you mentioned in the previous class, that Saturn was like, could be potentially like depressive or
Yes.
like
Yeah.
Shabbat,
Yeah.
to overcome that? Like between 1 and 2, are we like more susceptible to that?
Yes,
Like the
that-
after lunch slump. that
Correct.
we
There,
all
no,
go
you're saying
through?
like every hour of the day?
Are we able to, we could use this to, refine our character, but like, are we like leaning into our Saturn if we're feeling depressed between 1 and 2? Like,
Yeah, you
is
are.
that practical? If
Yeah.
you are, yes.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, so that's the influence that's out there, just be mindful of that.
Correct.
So
Correct.
be like, God,
And you can push back. Physicists have
name it to tame it.
Cor-
This is
ex-
the
ex-
best of
this-
time, I can.
correct. You could push beyond that. We know that when you physicists will measure a room, the walls of the room, you put lasers against the room, and we know exactly how much of an incline, how much. And I've said this to you before.
Yeah.
When you walk into a room, it bends towards you. Now, ever so slightly, you always are impacting your environment. You're impacting your environment. Imagine what your environment is doing to you. Right? You're impacting your environment. You're walking into the pool, you're making the concentric circles, you're pushing things around. That's one way of seeing it, but the whole purpose of this is to see how those concentric circles are impacting you.
If worlds could talk.
If they could, hopefully.
Look at COVID, look what COVID happened
Yeah.
to the people.
Yeah.
Can you
Oh,
talk about, since
yeah.
you mentioned the word mazal here, so is that a Hebrew word? And, are we under this, you always hear good, bad mazal, good
Yeah.
mazel tov. How are we under this mazel? Can you define that more, and how do we change that?
It's a great question. We spoke about it, I think, in the first class, but I'll say it. I'll repeat it because I think it's important. The word mazal comes from the word nozel. Nozel is a flow. And your mazal is a flow of energy coming down. Yeah, exactly. That's where mazal comes from. Okay. Now, the flow does not define what you are. And what we said was that your mazal is the flow. If you do nothing, your mazal will determine where you're at. You have a predefined path that you will take in this world if you surrender yourself to your mazal. The job of a Jew, and I would say every human being, a Jew is someone who's thinking very deeply about growing, is understanding their mazal and saying, I don't want to be defined by mazal. And when we say en mazal Yisrael, that means that there is no mazal that defines you. You can break out of your mazal. Your mazal influences you, it doesn't define you. So just because you find yourself with a set of circumstances that might be your mazal, you have the power of breaking out of it. And the way you break out of it is by bringing balance to what it means to be you. That's the avodah. There's stories in the Gemara of great rabbis who were very poor, who had horrific lives. The Gemara, I just saw this, how one of the things that the Romans did to torture Jews was they would take these balls of iron and heat them up, make them super red. They'd put them underneath your armpits, right? So that you die from pain. You didn't die from burning. You died from the pain of having your whole, I can't even think about it. It drives me crazy. You know what that is like? So they went through hard, it was a hard world they came from. I don't understand how the scale of things work, right? But I believe yesh din v'dayan. I believe there's justice and there is a judge. I believe that all things will make sense in time. Our job is to bring out the best of what we have with what we have. Some people are grow up super wealthy, super privileged, super beautiful, super articulate, super smart. Some people are not. And I don't know if one is better than the other because they each come with their own challenges. The only thing I know is that irrespective of what you do have or do not have, the one thing that we all need to be doing is refining ourselves. bringing balance to our world. That's it. That's how we change our mazal. Mazal, we said, shinui makom, shinui mazal, right? Changing your space. The space we're talking about is what? Your head space. The way you think about the world. Stop looking at the world from a negative place. The Torah says, Lo toturu achre levavchem ve'enechem. Your heart and your eyes. Why does it say that? Shouldn't it first say your eyes and then your heart? And it says specifically your heart and your eyes because your heart colors what you see. Right? You already have a predisposition of how you're going to experience the world because of your heart. And therefore the Torah says it. Hey, don't think that what you see influences you. It doesn't work like that. You're already influenced. You already have a preconceived notion of the world you're looking at. So you want to break out of your mazal, you got to change your headspace. All right, B'ezrat Hashem, I'm not going to be here next week actually. I'm taking a week off. I'm going away with my wife. It's our 26th anniversary. Thank you. And B'ezrat Hashem though, that's right, Chavav, this is the month of Samach, Chavav, 26. So B'ezrat Hashem, I will be back the week after that. So that's Hanukkah, Christmas week. I'll be back that week and we'll continue with the next month, B'ezrat Hashem. We'll go from Kislev to to Tevet, and we'll continue the conversation. If anyone has any questions, if anything I didn't answer, you know where to find me. B'ezrat Hashem next week.